of Phantom of the Opera, Evita, Cats, and so much more, Andrew Lloyd Webber. And the star of the series 13 Reasons Why and the new film Love, Simon, Katherine Langford. All next on Live. And now, here are Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest.
Good morning. What's up, Mother? Hey. Thank you guys very much. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, thank you. Good to see you.
Hi,
Yeah.
good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, March 8th, 2018. I cannot believe you made it in. Or are you stranded here? Were you here yesterday?
We had, well, this was my first true nor'easter experience since I moved here to New York.
What did you think about it?
Well, I was anticipating it for 24 hours. Like I said, I was up all night the night before, checking the window, nothing. I was downstairs in the radio bunker. I kept sending Lizzie upstairs to check, is it snowing, Nothing. Then, at 3 o'clock, the wetness, the lumpiness, it began to fall from the sky.
I know.
And I realized that, and I had a couple of appointments yesterday, I realized that everything you have scheduled gets canceled. Not necessarily because there's a lot of snow on the ground, but just because they can cancel.
Yeah, they do. They
right?
cancel. Yeah.
And you can't really argue with them about it because you don't know what's going to happen in the next few hours.
It's true because that could have turned in any direction. And what was interesting was, I know you were so excited. Like Ryan has romanticized a nor'easter or a nor'easter, nor apostrophe Easter, in his brain that it's like, you know the movie Frosty the Snowman? You're the little girl in Frosty the Snowman. So in his mind, he's going to make a snowman and put the hat on. And Frosty's going to come to life. They're going to be best friends. They're going to sled. He's going to get on Frosty's back and sled down the hill. And I was like, I don't think you really understand. It's like it snows water balloons.
Yeah.
And that is what it did.
Well, it's because when I was a kid growing up, or I grew up in Georgia, my grandparents lived in Pennsylvania. Shout out to the dogs. This was a snow day, and this was you would get up and you would. That's me.
Is that Pennsylvania?
It only looks like 2 inches of snow. It's barely any snow.
This was a southeaster.
Oh, is that in Georgia?
I think this is my grandma's in Pennsylvania. So
okay.
Anyway, but what would happen was when we would get a snow day in Atlanta, we would get out of school, and my mom would make hot cocoa and toast, and you dip your toast in the hot cocoa.
Oh my gosh, that's heaven.
Only when it snows. You cannot have that on a regular day. For some reason, it was against the rules.
Yeah.
And we would watch my buddies David and Slade would come over, live down the street, and if it snowed, we'd always watch The Muppets Take Manhattan. That was the movie that we'd watch on a. So I have all of these romantic images in my head about.
Like, I swear I was living in New York for Muppets Take Manhattan.
You were here.
Yeah. That is funny. My mom did the same thing. I remember we had snow days, of course, in New Jersey, and nothing wakes you up like a snow day. You know what I mean? Like, if it was a regular Wednesday and the alarm went off and it's time to get up for school, I was like a dead body. Right. But if the phone rang and it was like Mrs. Klein telling us that school was canceled for the snow day, it was like I was energized. The spirit of like awakeness came over me. And then we would go out in the snow, and we would always, my sister and I were the biggest glove losers of all times. We would get a pair of gloves at the beginning of winter. We would immediately lose them. My mom would teach us a lesson. She's like, you're not getting more gloves. So we would be out in the snow with my dad's gold toe socks on our hands. And all the other kids are like, what are you wearing on your hands? I'm like, socks. all the cool kids are wearing socks. Yeah. And then we would come in, and my mom would make us Campbell's tomato soup, and she would make a grilled cheese.
Did you dip?
And you dip.
We are related.
We are related.
For sure.
We're definitely related.
The dipping in the tomato soup. The greatest.
The dipping
it's the greatest.
in the tomato soup. And it's funny, it's got to be that combo, right? It has to be the combo of the grilled cheese dunked into the tomato soup.
The only reason to order French onion soup is to get the
cheese with the bread?
Pull the bread out of the thing that's been swimming in there under that layer of crusty landscape cheese. The only so
I'm not gonna lie.
Don't.
I would cut somebody. I would cut somebody right now for a French onion soup. I would.
Bring it.
The first person to bring me a French onion soup does not get cut. I just am starving.
Did you? This leads me to what I was going to tell you. Did you see? They were saying I didn't see any of this, but they were saying it was thunder snow.
Oh, thunder snow.
Some people saw the thunder snow.
I didn't see, nor did I hear thunder snow, but I was working out yesterday, so it could have. The thunder snow could have happened when I was in a noisy gym, which everything sounds like thunder.
People did. I guess they saw some lightning and they heard the thunder snow.
Have you heard of thunder snow before?
Just this morning when I read this article.
You all know thunder snow, yes? Or you've at least seen or you've heard of thunder snow.
Is it a new thing? When I was a kid, I'd never heard of thunder snow.
I feel like thunder snow is like the bomb cyclone. It's like something we talk about now.
Right. New marketing terms for weather.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds terrifying,
right.
And nobody, ratings are never higher than when there's a weather system.
Sure.
Because people like to tune in and watch it approach.
Which I do. I watch it approach. I watch it leave. It's like watching a chase.
I was eating a spinach salad yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
What kind of dressing?
Oh, you know, I had fresh lemon juice and olive oil, salt and pepper.
Perfect.
And then I put it in and I shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
All right, I now have a backdrop.
And it's finely chopped. It's almost pre-digested. It's so finely chopped.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I love you for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my daughter's like, how can you even tell what you're eating? It's like all because there's chicken, there's chickpeas.
But just finely chopped.
But it's so finely chopped that it's all sort of.
It's already digested. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I realized as I was eating my salad, it was taking a long time, that I had been watching the same news coverage, the same storm, for an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, I just was, and I was standing. I wouldn't even sit down. I was standing in the kitchen just watching it. And I was like, that's gonna be a big mess. They were showing the commutes. People were stranded for hours.
Yeah, power is out in a lot of places, obviously.
In this tri-state area, 350,000 people without power. Yeah, that's no joke. And this is not when you want to be without power. It's cold.
Yeah, it's true. So, you know, you're talking about eating. I decided, well, since everybody was canceling on me, it was just treated like a snow day ourselves. So I said to Shayna, what should we do? We should get out and play in it. And she said, no, it's not go play in it. Because it was wet.
It's too wet to play.
There were puddles and it was wet. So we decided to walk to a place around the corner for dinner. And this is the first time I've encountered this, and I don't know what the protocol is. But I had slacks on, trousers on, and then I put snow boots on. Not the greatest vibe, but so we walked, and then I took a little merce with me of my Sunday school shoes, so I could put my dress shoes.
So you change your shoes?
Well, I got to the restaurant, and I checked my coat, and then I sat down on a bench, and I Mr. Rogers it.
Yeah.
And I changed my shoes.
Which was so riveting.
And and I said to Shayna, what do we do with the boots? She's like, well, just give it to the coat check. So I feel a little uncomfortable about that. So the boots aren't beautiful boots. They're dirty snow boots.
They're snow boots.
So I gave them to the woman, and she just looked at me. And I looked at her, and I said, oh, are we not supposed to check our boots? And she said, I'll take them. Sorry, I thought, can I still eat here? I don't. So do people not carry a bag with a change of shoes?
I don't want to. I know a lot of women that do that. I have to tell you, you're the first man I've ever met that has
a black boot.
I'm just the girl with the snowman.
I mean, you're like.
I don't know. The protocol. Just, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard.
She looked at me like I was insane.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're insane. I just think I would have just put them under the table.
Okay.
Put the boots under the table. But that was the most, to me, back to Mr. Rogers, the most riveting part of that show
changing the shoes?
is when he would change his shoes and then take off his one sweater and put on his other sweater. And I was like, we are home
We are
now.
home. We are home.
But we had just never did that. We were not the family that changed out of their one shoes into their other shoes and then changed out of their one cardigan into their other cardigan. And I always wanted to be that. I wanted to be that so desperately. I also wanted to go to the land of make-believe, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying that there's like young people, it's a snow day, so there's young people in the audience who are like, what is she talking about? Google it, Google it. Google Mr. Rogers.
And you will see.
And you'll see it was magic.
But I like to get home and immediately put on very baggy sweatpants and my Uggs.
You do immediately?
This was, as soon as I'm done with everything, yeah. I can't wait.
I stay dressed as long as possible. Because
In case you get a call for breaking news, what's happening?
No.
We need Kelly. We need Ripa now. There's a nor'easter on the way.
My shoes come off. My shoes come off, but I stay dressed as long as possible because I don't, once I cave in to the sweats, then I am taking a bag of chips into the bed, and Judge Judy and I are having a cake. And Judge Judy wasn't on yesterday because it was all snow coverage, and I felt very itchy that I didn't get to weigh in because she and I should have been a judge.
I think they always end
very
the same
judgmental.
Well, we're happy to have all you guys today on this great day. We got a big show for you. Very exciting. On today's show, I mean, he's royalty. It's Andrew Lloyd Webber. He is here talking about his memoir. Plus, he has a new album out called Unmasked, the Platinum Collection. He's performing some of his greatest hits in just a few minutes as well.
When you think about like all of the musicals that he is really like one of the great influences in my young life when I moved to New York City, and I would go and, you know, I mean, just Phantom of the Opera and Cats and Sunset Boulevard and and Evita, yes, Evita, and just so many incredible, iconic musicals. And where does that come from in someone's brain?
I mean, you can just see the genius on him.
Yeah.
You know, you can physically see it.
For sure. And from the new film Love, Simon, Katherine Langford is here.
And right now it's time for Snow Way Travel Trivia. Here we go. There's Alston Kelsey from Atlanta, Georgia. How do you say your last name?
Causey.
Causey. Yeah, from Atlanta, Georgia. What's up? What part of Atlanta?
Gwinnett County. Fort Gwinnett. That's right.
I don't know why I just did that, but that was like the weirdest thing I've ever done.
Here comes
I was like,
yeah. So I grew up in DeKalb County, Dunwoody High School. I went to school in Dunwoody.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Perimeter
Mall.
Yeah. You did another Herky?
I did another Herky.
He's not so excited about that.
Herky.
All right.
Yeah. Are you guys from like
competing counties?
Yeah.
Kind of, a little
I didn't
bit,
realize there were such rivalries between the Georgia counties.
Competing malls.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. What mall was your mall?
We had Perimeter. They had a bigger one in Gwinnett.
That's right.
Anyway, let's call Ryan from New York, New York. So.
Are we calling? Wouldn't it be weird if your phone rang?
I try to enter myself in all these giveaways. Yeah. See if Ryan's watching.
If that's his real name.
You have a bad feeling about this?
I always have a bad feeling about this.
Your call has been forwarded.
Out enjoying the sunshine. Oh.
That woman, though, doesn't she sound smug?
Yeah.
Right? Your call has been forwarded.
We're calling Kathy now.
Oh,
from
Redondo Beach?
Redondo
She's
Beach.
going to be happy.
Thrilled.
If she wins a trip, she's going to be happy. Yeah.
Bright and early. It's their wake-up call this morning. Redondo Beach every morning.
Is it
Can you
nice?
imagine?
Tell me about Redondo Beach. You've
Sand,
been there, right?
sun,
Yeah.
surf, piers, oysters, crab legs.
Hello, it's Kathy.
Hi, yeah, it's Kathy. Kathy, it's Ryan Seacrest and Kelly Ripa. You're live on the air. Good morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Are you up and about at this hour?
Well, I actually just texted my daughter about an accident on the 405.
Time saver traffic. Do you need an update?
There's traffic on the 405.
Always.
Oh, no. There's a huge accident. She drives to school every day.
Yeah.
So I texted her to make sure.
Oh, make sure that, and we're interfering with that whole thing.
Okay.
But
It's fine.
it's for a good cause. It's for live TV.
Yeah. So,
Kath, we're going to spin the wheel, see what you're playing for,
we got a big
okay?
prize for you. Here we go.
Hey, this is a great prize. The Hilton Aruba Caribbean Resort and Casino. 7 days and 6 nights. It includes more than $1,000 in food and beverage credits, plus a $100 spa credit. This trip is provided in part by Priceline. It's a prize valued at $5,500. You have 20 seconds and only one guess, Kathy. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy, on yesterday's show, we talked with Lucy Hale. What country did Lucy say she arrived from? She just came from a place to here. Does she have a laptop on her dashboard?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
What kind of device is that? 4, 3. Take a guess. Any country? Kathy?
What?
Oh, it's too late. What were you going to guess?
Oh, shoot. She came from London.
No, she came from the country of Italy.
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 Oh,
So,
shoot.
anyway, that's
Listen,
okay.
Kath, if it makes you feel any better, I was here and I have no recollection of that at all. So
True.
you are not.
Yesterday was the first show. Yesterday was the first show I didn't watch.
What about today's?
Well,
It's not on yet. It's not on yet.
it's not on yet.
It's a trick
Stop with
question.
your trick question.
It's a trick.
Listen, Kathy, you're still going to get a great prize.
My coffee.
You and a lucky member of our studio audience will each receive a $500 appliance package from Cuisinart. So please pick a number between 1 and 205.
175.
175. 175.
On top of the balcony! Hey, Kathy, good luck on the 405 today, all right? Thanks for watching. Andrew Lloyd Webber, right after the break.
Still ahead on live from the new film Love, Simon, Katherine Langford. We'll open Kelly and Ryan's inbox. And coming up next, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
I've got to tell you, I'm such a fan of all of your work, and your book is no different. And of course, somebody that is so able to compose and write such beautiful musicals, a memoir must have been very easy for you, or was it?
Well, it wasn't music, so...
Yeah, right.
But no, it was great fun. I enjoy writing myself, and I promise you every word is mine, so it's all my fault.
Right.
But it was good fun. It's a long old process, though, writing these books.
Yeah.
And one of the things, of course, one thinks one remembers everything. But luckily, I kept all my old desk diaries. So I went through them, and nothing seemed to add up. So I sort of then rewrote everything and thought, you know, I'm going to have to contact a load of old friends and and people I hadn't seen for years, which was great fun. And of course, I then pieced together that the story was slightly different than I remembered.
Does anybody here keep a journal? Do you journal? Anybody here? It's like I do. And when
Is it a lost art?
No, but I never kept a diary as such. It was just literally, I kept thinking, that happened there. I thought I was in New York then, but I was in fact in London.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. Kelly mentioned it. An Oscar, Tonys, Grammys. One has to wonder what it was like when you were a child growing up at the Weber house.
Well, yeah, my parents, it was a strange household, to put it mildly. We lived in a flat that was rented by my grandmother. My father was a musician. He was the director of the London College of Music at one point, which sounds awfully grand, but, you know, he didn't have any money. And my mum was a piano teacher. And we lived in this kind of fairly run-down flat in a part of London called Kensington. And frankly, I mean, it was bohemian beyond belief. My brother played the cello. There was me with my my sort of pop and rock and my gramophone and my musicals. My dad had a huge electronic organ because he was a very good organist, so we had that. Then eventually a pianist moved in called John Lill, who my mother took rather a shine to, and he was the guy who ran the Tchaikovsky competition, so we had him.
It sounds like you were living in a musical.
My goodness, I mean,
like
it was
commune.
bedlam.
Yes.
Bedlam.
Yeah.
And I mean, you thought the poor neighbours. There was one day when my brother was playing the cello very loudly, and Tim Rice then moved in at one point as well. So it was. This is a bit later. It wasn't so much when I was a kid. The guy leapt out of the door as Julian was playing the cello, and he said, "I don't mind that pianist." He said, "But it's that oboe player I can't stand."
And you used to, as a child, you would build stages and sets?
Well, I went to, what got me really going with theatre was that I had a wonderfully theatrical aunt who knew various people in the theatre, and she was very glamorous for me. She was the most politically incorrect woman ever. Yeah. And on daytime TV, I am not going to quote any of her lines.
Exactly.
But I really will be thrown out of the country forever. But anyway, I was taken to the London Palladium pantomime. You don't really have pantomimes in this country, but it was a really, really great. It was Aladdin, I think it was, and I thought it was magic. Yeah. But because I like music, I very, very quickly got into musicals, and that was kind of weird because musicals in Britain at that time for young people were off limits. I mean, and certainly as I got into my teens when the Beatles happened and all of that, you were considered mad if you liked musicals. Right. But I did, and I luckily saw My Fair Lady, West Side Story on the stage, and the films of Gigi and South Pacific all in one Christmas holidays when I was about 9 years old, and I was hooked.
And did you know then, as a 9-year-old, were you like, this is kind of, because I think that a lot of people being here on the show, they know at the earliest ages what their destiny is.
Well, I knew that something was going to happen with musicals. Wow. I knew at that point. Or possibly, I was very interested in architecture and art too, which was another side of me, and still am. But I don't know, I was hooked. I mean, I really knew. So by the time I was, 12, 13, I was writing musicals, and we tried out them in my silly toy theatre, with me pushing little toys around and playing the piano. And
what did your parents say? Were they on board? Were they in favour of you writing musicals?
Well, I mean, sort of my aunt drummed up.
What, is this it?
That's it, yes.
Wow.
That's a very, very important. You see, I can't think what musical that could possibly have been. Looks like a kind of early version of Les Miserables. But why they're all quite in Cossack outfits, I don't know. Well, we'll have to. But no, it was great, and I had bored parents friends came round, and my brother sang, and we even built a revolving stage out of an old gramophone turntable.
No.
Because when the theatre got very high-tech and sophisticated,
no kidding.
We put this turntable in and sawed through a bit of wood, which was the stage. And you know, you're all too young here to remember the days of vinyl and 16 RPM.
Well, no, it's all back.
Well, I know it's all back. Yeah. You see, I've never got rid of my vinyl turntables, so I've been ahead of the game for years.
Yes.
It's so great that you, at 9 years old, had that Christmas holiday because the world's experienced the most amazing art from you, and we're going to listen to some of that.
I've lost count. I've lost count of the times I've seen Phantom of the Opera. And that is a thing, isn't it? I mean, people that go to see your musicals, they've not seen them once, they've seen them
For
20 times, 30 times.
Well, I mean, the run of Phantom is extraordinary. I never thought that would happen.
Yeah.
But it's still in great shape in New York. When we had the 30th birthday, I thought, I mean, it's amazing how the standard the production's kept up. It's fabulous.
It really is, and
Right.
I've got to tell you, I've taken my kids over various stages of the, you know, when they have an event, something special to celebrate. We go see Phantom of the Opera.
I mean, it's really important to take kids to the theatre, I think.
So the music of the night, which is such a great song, would you play a little bit of that?
Yes, if you would
From the
like.
longest running show on Broadway.
Yeah.
I mean, this was an interesting song because it didn't end up, it wasn't originally intended for Phantom.
Really?
It's another story, but here we go. There's a little bit for you.
What is it, the inspiration? Like when you hear, where does the melody come to you? Are you in the shower? Are you having an argument? What is happening to you when this comes to you?
Well, the thing is about a musical is that the story is everything.
Right.
And we tried out the Phantom at a little festival that I do every year, and we realized that when we got to the Phantom's Lair that we needed a song.
Yeah.
And we didn't have it in the first draft. I mean, this is very early on in its creation. And I remembered a song that I'd written for Sarah Brightman, actually, to sing, which became then the music of the night. Sarah, sometimes in her concerts, when she sings it now, says she's reclaiming the song that was originally hers.
What about from Cats? I mean, I love to watch people's expressions when they see Memories.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
We've got it, right?
Yeah.
We've got to hear a little
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
We all know that. So tell us everything about that song.
Well,
What's the backstory?
well, again, with Memory, that was something that went into Cats really quite late on in its creation. I mean, the Cats, nobody wanted to produce Cats. Everybody thought it was the worst idea in the history of theatre.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they did. That human beings dressed as cats, come on, you've got to be joking.
Right.
And so, I mean, in London, I mean, it opened with half the investment missing,
Right.
and a second mortgage on my house because I was the only person who had any money around the production at all. It was an absolute nightmare. I mean, the word catastrophe was on everybody's lips. And of course, it was compounded by the fact that our leading lady was going to be Judi Dench. And Judi snapped her Achilles tendon in an accident in the rehearsal room. And so she came back, tried to actually get through the show, and she slipped, and we decided that it was no way that it was safe for her to continue. So 2 days before our first preview, with a show that everybody was rubbing their hands saying this is going to be the biggest theatrical disaster in history, we lost our leading lady. And I had to rewrite the song and it was lucky that we could do this, for Elaine Page, who was the original first Evita in London.
Wow.
She was available, she
Right.
came in, and it would have been very different sung by Judi Dench, but it would have been much more like it was sung by Edith Piaf. But it would have been a wonderful performance because she was such a fabulous actress.
But speaking of Evita, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. By request. By request.
By request.
Are in the glorious key of
Yeah.
D flat major. So there we go. Now you're going to raise your arms now, and as Evita does.
Of course, I'm in a shift dress. I can't raise my arms.
What do you think of that? I have to say, wasn't Patti LuPone amazing at the Grammys?
Oh,
I mean,
yes. As a matter of fact, yes.
I just sat there and I thought, I cannot believe that she's giving this extraordinary performance. And I mean, she's singing better than she was when she did it originally.
When you work with somebody, when you have a person in your mind, do you write to their strengths, or do you not have anybody in mind, and then you go searching for the person?
It's the last. I mean, I never write for anybody specifically. If one's writing a musical, one's writing it as a musical, and then you cast it.
Right.
I mean, having said that, though, for example, when I was working with Glenn Close, and she was such a fantastic actress, I did adapt the score of Sunset somewhat for her, to play to her. Yeah, because you obviously do that.
Yeah.
I mean, and if somebody said, please write a song for somebody, which I don't really do, then of course you work to their strengths. I mean, the most amazing things is you get composers like Richard Rodgers of Rodgers and Hammerstein, you know, who, when he was writing The King and I, was writing for, say, Gertrude Lawrence, who had literally about 7 notes in her voice, if that. And he wrote most of the melodies entirely within that range. It's a work of genius.
You know, your work stands the test of time, and it always will, and this is one of the most special moments for me as the new co-host on this show. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much.
It's great to see you again.
It's very kind of you.
As a consumer of all of your musicals, it's a huge thrill for me as well. Thank you.
Welcome back. Oh, isn't he sweet? He's so amazing.
On tomorrow's show, Mindy Kaling will be here. That's exciting. Yeah.
And from the series The Arrangement, Josh Henderson is here too.
Yeah,
And listen to this.
you're all going to get to see one of the great treats of our time. That's right. It's what America and Canada has been clamoring for. You're going to see what happens when I, Kelly Ripa from Berlin, New Jersey, audition for American Idol.
They did make an exception, and Kelly was before the judges,
They did.
and I would say it was a rare critique that I witnessed.
All I'm going to say is somebody said it to me best backstage when they said, "You have no idea what you did out there."
And tomorrow, the nation will find out.
That's right.
So that's tomorrow. We first met her as Hannah Baker in the critically acclaimed series 13 Reasons Why, and soon she can be seen on the big screen and the new film Love, Simon. Please welcome Katherine Langford.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's your first time here, yeah?
It is. It's my first time.
I feel like I know you so well. I mean, people must say that to you everywhere you go.
I mean, I actually haven't had too much of an opportunity to kind of like mix with fans, you know, or do any like Comic-Con conventions or anything like that. But I mean, for the people I have met, it's definitely been a really great experience.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Australia?
I did, yeah.
Have you seen the snow that's outside? Did you get here in time for the blizzard last night?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I was actually also, I just finished wrapping a film called Spontaneous in Vancouver, and it was just snowing like crazy.
They've had a lot of snow this year.
So much snow, and I had like my first snow, well, not first snow experience, but heavy snow experience.
But there are areas in Australia where it snows, right?
I mean, yes. I mean, I haven't been there, but I...
Yes, they talk about them, but no one's seen them. The secret snow-capped mountains of Australia. And you grew up as a swimmer. Did you swim?
I did. I was a swimmer for 10 years.
What was your... I grew up as a swimmer. What was your sport?
I was a butterfly breaststroker.
I did fly, and I am.
Oh!
So,
and I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Whoa, I don't know what you mean.
Well, let me tell you, it's all about the two-hand touch and her strokes.
No kidding.
Yeah, well, I am's the individual medley. It's funny because anytime I say I did a sport, I just see people's reaction like...
What is that?
Were you good?
Was I good? I was all right. I was okay. I think I was really heavy into it when I was like 14, 15.
Well, butterflies, I think, the most difficult stroke.
I mean, that's what people say. It's definitely tricky. I mean, when I was 8, like I couldn't understand it, and then something clicked in. For me, it was weird though, because breaststroke and butterfly, it's like you do the same thing on both sides of your body. But I was like terrible at freestyle and backstroke because you had to do different
things,
which is bizarre. So yeah, I just fell into breaststroke and butterfly.
But butterfly is the hardest one, right? Isn't that what they say? Butterfly is like, because it seems, I mean, I've tried to do a butterfly stroke once, and I think I nearly drowned. I'm not kidding. Because you've got to like, not just swoop your arms around, but you also have to
keep your legs
snake
together.
Your body, right? You got to snake the body and then arms snake, right?
Yeah.
Or am I?
No, it looks exactly like Phelps.
Yeah.
It was Phelps-esque. And congratulations on 13 Reasons Why. What a monster hit.
Were you surprised? I mean, I guess you would have nothing to compare to, right? That was your first real acting job, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think it's recent. You know, it was my first job, and I think everything I did was a kind of first experience. So that for me is just sort of like what I based everything off of. But I think, you know, now, like, having sort of met other people and just having a minute to sort of work and do other things, I'm sort of realizing, like, oh wow, that was big. Like, that was
it's huge. You got a Golden Globe nomination out of it.
Yeah,
I mean, you
crazy.
Know, like, that's what she's basing her whole experience on. You get a job.
You get a Globe. We'll take a break and find out about Katherine's new movie called Love, Simon. That's right after this. Stay with us.
That's a scene from Love, Simon, starring Katherine Langford. It's very sweet coming-of-age story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. It reminds me of so many of the high school movies they had when we were kids, only this story is, I think, even more special because it tells a story that a lot of people have not seen themselves represented on screen before. It's about a young man coming to terms with his sexuality.
Yeah, and you know, I think that was part of, for me, when I read the script, what made it so special is that, you know, initially it was based off the novel by Becky Albertelli. And obviously this was directed by Greg Berlanti, who I think did such a fabulous job of conveying the story for so many reasons. You know, firstly, he understands it, and secondly, he had such a vision, and that kind of nostalgia that you're talking about is something that I think a lot of people have picked up on so far. It's got this genuine kind of John Hughesy vibe, which makes you feel nostalgic, but it's also modern and current. You know, and I play Leah Burke.
What's she like?
Leah, well, Leah's Simon's best friend, and I'd say on the outside she's a little bit of a hard shell. She's very kind of, I think she likes to adventure out into what she can do externally and that kind of thing. But she can be a little, I think she can be a little insecure when she's in settings that, like, she's not familiar with. So you see her really comfortable with Nick and with Simon, but when Abby comes into the group, you sort of see a little bit more protection and more gear, which is really one of the things that I also loved about the film. It's like, it's high school, and one of the big things in high school is you're trying so hard on one hand to be authentic to yourself, and on the other hand, you're also trying to figure out who you are.
Right.
It's like that kind of thing and that conflict that is so present.
That's
in
the
high school.
duality of high school in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
And therefore life.
Yeah,
right?
and therefore life.
Love, Simon. It's in theaters Friday, March 15th. Go check it out. Great to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up next, we're going to open up the inbox.
Okay, what's in the inbox, Kelly Ripa?
Aaron B. Weissman says, hey, Ryan, just carry a bag you can drop the shoes into before you coat check them after you do your Mr. Rogers. It's this city girl's secret. Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow. The problem was the bag that I could have put them in to give to the coat check person.
Only fit your shoes.
No, Shane apparently smuggled a bottle of wine in the bag in a restaurant.
Oh, no kidding.
Because I said, why are you carrying the bag to the table? She goes, look what I brought. We're going to get killed in this place.
Is it a BYOB place?
Well, apparently to her it was. Or I would have put the shoes in there.
You wanted to make sure you had the wine that you like at the restaurant.
I don't know what she was up to. This says, this is from Nicole. I mean, the stuff that happens in real life, Shirley.
Was it young, French, and dry?
It was young, red, and fruity.
Because we did it at Laurie Schulweis, David Schulweis's husband's birthday dinner. I tried the old young, French, and dry, and then and I was like, watch this. I'm gonna order our wine. We would like something young, French, and dry. And then the man was like, he asked follow-up questions, and I was like, I don't know. Seacrest just says young, fresh, and dry, and they're like, immediately. And they run, and I'm like, what is with the follow-up?
Nicole says, I've worked in a coat room for the past 3 years. You would not believe the things that people check, and unfortunately, no matter how gross or smelly, I have to take them. The reason I'm there is to make sure these items don't enter the room. I've had people check diaper bags, presents, car seats with French fries still attached to the back of the seat, so don't feel so bad about your snow boots, Ryan.
And let's see, this is for Colleen Bauman, Washington Township. Hey, that's like back down near my neck of the woods. Speaking of socks on your hands or mittens, do you remember using plastic bags or grocery bags over your feet before putting your boots on to keep your feet dry? An old Jersey girl memory I have from the elementary school days. A lot of people put the bread bags on their feet. That was like that was an old thing. Yeah.
We do the crack bag.